It's moving beyond just attacking a person for offering a book. It's moving towards trying to go after their livelihood, their jobs, their security by making stuff up about what the person is doing. They're attacking the character because they can't easily attack the book. I'm Elissa, a high school librarian in New Jersey, who was fired from my position at Verona High School for promoting LGBTQ+ and racially diverse books to students. I offer this really unique perspective. I am one of the only librarians in the entire nation that is also on a school board. There might be one or two, but I'm the only one in the state of New Jersey. So I bring this unique perspective of being the one who is writing the policies against censorship, along with personally being censored. It has been, let's just say, a really interesting experience. In April 2022, I was working in a different school than where I work now, called Verona High School in Verona, New Jersey. It's in the same county where I'm on the school board. I've been there for 3 years, and I started before COVID. The COVID lockdown happened in March of my first year in the district. During that time, I ran a lot of outreach for students, including driving books to their kids' houses. Throughout my time in the district, I worked hard to build relationships with the students, teachers, and administrators. I never had a bad evaluation, never had any disciplinary action, no indication that anything was wrong. Then it came time for my final evaluation of the school year. It was the end of April 2022, and I expected to be hired back because nothing had been wrong. And I was told, not in person, but via email, that I was not going to be hired back. And in the final evaluation, the principal stated that the part of the reason why was that my book display focused too much on LGBTQ+ students and racially diverse students and nothing else. This is exactly what he wrote. Mrs. Malespina does a nice job with creating collections for displays about equity, specifically regarding the themes of race and LGBTQ. However, the selection never seems to go beyond these two topics. This has created the perception that the library is only about two things, and not necessarily about promoting a variety of different books centered around a variety of different topics. Which is not only false, because I had a variety of book displays, but it was so hurtful that he would say that, and that I didn't make the library a place for everybody to feel like they belonged, because I worked so hard to make that happen. I was completely in shock. I had a full panic attack. I had to go on medical leave for the remainder of the school year and was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression. I was not in a good place for a while, but I'm in a much better place now. I was blindsided, but started to talk with more people and understand what was going on. I began to realize that there was a vocal minority of parents that were against anything related to diversity and inclusion. This group of parents didn't want Verona to hire a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, which they did end up hiring. The parents were saying things like, we were teaching the kids CRT, and the whole talking points that we're seeing now. And I guess in the process, they started talking about some of the books in the library, and they were not so happy. But none of these complaints ever reached my level. I did a different display every month: Hispanic Heritage Month, Women's History Month, Black History Month. Instead of autism awareness, I had a neurodiversity display, Native American History Month, you name it, we did a display on it. When I would pick new books, I made sure to pick books for a display that represented a wide variety of people. Even though the school was mostly white, I didn't want it to be a display of all white books, so we mirrored the community around us. You name it, it was displayed. In the nonfiction area, I had books on LGBTQ+ topics like genderqueer and All Boys Are Blue. Some of those books that are now banned. But I also had books that were about Republicans. I had Mouse out. All sorts of different topics were displayed. The nonfiction books, they stayed a little more static, but I changed the front display every month. And I always had a banned book display up. I had one sitting in the hallway for a good portion of the year. That year and every year. One of the teachers and I did a whole project about reading banned books. So it's something that was taught in the curriculum. But what we were seeing was this group of parents were also starting to question books in the curriculum. I mean, they had written a new course curriculum called Race and Identity, and the kids had the option of taking it. And then parents were getting annoyed with the books being chosen for the class. And I'm like, this class is about race and identity. What do you expect? This vocal minority didn't want any diversity and inclusion books, curriculum, or consultants in the Verona schools. They named themselves the Verona Watchdogs. They started coming to board meetings and fighting to not have the consultant come in. I found out later that they were also talking about some of the books that I had in my library. There were never any formal challenges done, but it seems they were complaining, which I didn't know about because it never reached my level. So it's like that vocal minority didn't win the war. The administration hired a DEI consultant, but the principal, maybe to appease the parents in some way, decided to get rid of me, and I was not renewed. In New Jersey, we have a tenure law, so it's 4 years and a day before you get tenure. And if you're non-tenured, it means you can be let go for anything. You know, if they don't like the color of my hair, they could fire me. I'm on a school board, so I know exactly how hiring and firing works. I didn't have that much that could be done. The union wrote a letter to the superintendent and the board condemning what occurred, calling it chilling and saying that it would lead to teachers not wanting to participate in the new DEI initiatives that they were developing. The union helped me to secure my medical leave and all of that, but the only thing I could have done is what is called in New Jersey, and I don't know if it's other places, called a Donaldson hearing, which is I could have gone in front of the board and fought for my position and pleaded my case as to why I should be renewed. And I could have done that behind the scenes, or I could have done it publicly. I felt like I didn't want to do that because why do I want to work in a place where we're okay with firing me for something like this? Because then what? I get my job back and I have to worry about every book that I put out? I couldn't. The stress would have been too much. I didn't want to deal with that. I could have fought. I probably could have won. I had a good case, but it wasn't worth it. This is how horrible the whole process was. Like, they literally waited till the last day to do my evaluation. And I was out sick that day because at the time I had just been exposed to COVID, so I had to get tested before I came back to the school. The principal didn't even call me. He just emailed the evaluation to me and said, "You're not hired back." I still have never had a conversation with my principal from that day forward, and I never went back into the building. I had a complete panic attack. I broke down. One of the first things I did after finding out was to call my friend and fellow New Jersey librarian, Martha Hickson, who had a similar experience as me of dealing with book challenges and had to go on medical leave. She was like, "I need you to go to your doctor. I need you to go to your doctor tomorrow." I went to my doctor, who I have known for years as a friend. He took one look at me and he said to me, "I am not putting you back in that situation. You're not okay." I couldn't stop shaking. He was like, "We're gonna up your meds and I'm gonna check on you in 2 weeks to see how you're doing. You're gonna tell me if you wanna go back, but you don't need to go back into that situation." I was expected to go back at the end of the semester and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get myself to go back into a situation with that person who had said those things about me. And I felt horrible about it because my kids were asking why I wasn't there. They were emailing me. They were wondering what was going on, and I couldn't even talk to them about it because I was trying to work out my medical leave. So I was sort of in a situation where I couldn't talk to anybody about what was happening. As part of the negotiations for my medical leave, the district tried to get me to sign an NDA. I refused to sign it. They were trying to sort of pay me off, and the trade-off would be that I would sign the NDA and they'd pay me the remainder of the time out of school because I had used up all my sick leave and was out of days. And I still had about 15 days that I would have had to come in. So this union in the school district, we were arguing over that. And they tried to get me to sign that non-disclosure agreement and not talk about it. And I said, "No, I'll take no pay." The NDA would have prevented me from ever speaking about any of it. I did have legal counsel. I had NJEA representatives and legal advice throughout all of it. I also sought legal counsel after to potentially sue them. I knew it was a long shot because of how the tenure laws are written in New Jersey. So even though they agreed what happened was wrong, it was just a case that they probably couldn't win. But yeah, my legal counsel was like, yeah, you're not signing that NDA. You're not going to sign that. Ironically, the DEI consultant that Verona had hired was in the district while this was all going on. And they recently published their report completely vindicating me. I mean, I was bawling when I read what she wrote. One, because it vindicated me, but two, because I was so sad for the children because I was reading their experiences and what has happened to them and their feelings. It's heartbreaking. The consultant talks about how my library was one of the best spots in the school and how it was a safe spot where children felt welcomed and they didn't understand when a staff member wasn't there anymore. The report talks about book displays as something we need to see more of, basically telling them what you did was wrong. This is what she said. Number 15, library and other school-wide displays. It was noted that librarians throughout the district worked hard to create culturally responsive, sensitive, and inclusive displays, and these practices are to be commended. It is also noted that the high school library includes many books on critical issues to the underrepresented students with differing abilities, culture, and immigration. Students report that because of these displays, they perceive the library as a safe space in which to look at the literature and have discussions with library staff. It is strongly recommended that the library continue these practices. Others note that the libraries have also been successful in celebrating important cultural events of student and community members from diverse cultural backgrounds, and it is strongly recommended that the libraries continue and, when possible, enhance these practices. So that was written because of what had happened to me. I'll give you one more, which was from my evaluation. Mrs. Malespina has some relationships with the students. However, by and large, the students do not seem to warm to her. This one got me the worst, more than any of the others, because I really try hard to make everybody feel welcome. And when he tried to say that, I started to believe that I had failed. But this is what was written in the diversity report. Many high school students, in particular, noted that they had formed close ties over the year with the staff and students who left the district. For some of these students, that teacher or staff person was their safe place within the school. Students, particularly students of color and LGBTQ+ students, noted that the changes were not only disruptive to the educational environment, but also particularly disruptive to their emotional well-being. Though these same students noted that there were very little, if any, communication from school leadership about what had changed, leaving the students to wonder why their safe person was gone. This lack of official communication to the students also resulted in increased speculation as to the reason for the play's departure, and the speculation merely served to increase the anxiety for many students. After my breakdown and medical leave, I needed to find a new job. I thought about leaving teaching altogether, but I was so close to my 25 years needed to retire that it didn't make sense financially. So I started calling all my friends and explaining what had happened, and I was lucky that one of my friends was looking for a librarian in her district. She knew my work and reputation, and she took a chance on me. I have become the librarian at Union High School in Union, New Jersey. It's a much more diverse district, very inclusive. The administration is very supportive. Everybody is supportive. The kids are amazing. The staff is great, and everybody from my supervisor to my principal to the superintendent have all been supportive and encouraging in my initiatives to focus on diversity and inclusion in the library. It's only like 10 minutes from my house. It's a much better fit for me, but I did have to start the tenure process over again. I decided it was time for me to speak out about what happened because it's a form of therapy for me. And because I was in a position where I had a new job, I knew I had supportive administration, and I knew that I had a voice and platform that many other people don't have. I can use my voice to help others, and so I've been speaking out about what happened to me because there's a lot of people who don't feel like they can. A lot of librarians are so scared right now. I have gotten so many emails from people, other librarians. Some of my dearest friends are going through things, and they're afraid to talk about it because they need their job. They need health care. They need all these things, and they're worried about speaking out against censorship and becoming a target. I've gotten death threats, so they're scared, and I totally understand why. I'm like, hey, if I can use my voice to help others, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do what I can to be there for them when it happens to them. After January 6th, we started to see this parent group rise in their power. I mean, they always talk, but really once the January 6th insurrection happened and the Moms for Liberties groups became more popular, that is when everyone started to use the same talking points. Because this group, the Verona Watchdogs, was using the same talking points that other groups were using. I mean, it's literally, they take the 850 book list published by Texas Republican Matt Krause, and they're taking one line or one picture out of context from them and saying, we have porn in our libraries. So while all of this is going on in my professional life, I am also an elected member of the South Orange Maplewood School District. There are 9 of us on the school board. It's a 3-year term that started in January 2021. We don't always agree on everything, but South Orange and Maplewood are 2 very diverse towns and have always been leaders in the state in terms of diversity in race, religion, and sexual orientation. So we as a school district get targeted by right-wing organizations at times. We made the Turning Point's watch list. Turning Points is a right-wing hate group that targets school boards that focus on diversity and inclusion, and we made their list. While it's scary to have your name on these hate group websites, I am proud because I know that as a district, we are doing something right for our students. I spoke with my school board and I said, guys, this is what's coming. We are seeing districts that have parents come in and community members or people who don't even live in the community come in and challenge books. And I'm like, our policies stink. They're old, they're outdated. Our policies aren't going to hold up if we're facing with a challenge. Let's be proactive for once instead of reactive. And they're like, okay, Liz, have at it. You're on the policy committee, have at these policies and write them how you would think they should be. And so I spent time talking with other librarians in the state and tried to craft a policy that dealt with some of the things that we were facing. Like our new policy states that you can only challenge a book if you're a student or a parent or a guardian of a student in the district, to weed out those community members that don't even have any stake in the district, or the Moms of Liberty who are gonna try to come in and do that. Our new policy talks a lot about inclusivity in terms of not only race, but gender, ethnicity, all of it. We talk about the Librarian's Bill of Rights, the First Amendment. We talk about New Jersey's curriculum and how we in New Jersey have a very diverse curriculum that includes curriculum on Holocaust, Amistad curriculum, which is our Black history curriculum. We have an LGBTQ plus curriculum. We have an Asian American and Pacific Islander curriculum that we must teach in our schools. I wrote the policy in a way that a person who is trying to challenge a book is going to have a really hard time to be able to do that because they'll have to prove that the resources don't meet those curriculums. Well, you're probably not going to be able to do that because they do. The policies and regulations I wrote are now being used by districts across New Jersey and the nation. I am very proud to be able to provide school districts with policies and regulations that they can use to help combat the rise in book challenges we're seeing. And coincidentally, Union High School, where I am now working, was already implementing my policies prior to me getting the job. So I feel even more secure there now because I know that if something were to happen, we have policies in place that will protect us. Don't think that the right-wing hate groups have left me alone, though. I've gotten death threats as a school board member and because of me speaking out about what happened to me. I had to file police reports. I have security at conferences where I speak. I have people that my security at school know to look out for. I've been called every name in the book and have had vicious lies written about me. I have people who have written my current employer and tried to say that I was bullying kids to get me fired. Luckily, they don't believe them, but it's been hard to deal with. It's all done to silence me, but I refuse to be silenced. It's moving beyond just attacking a person for offering a book. It's moving towards trying to go after their livelihood, their jobs, their security by making stuff up about what the person is doing. They're attacking the character because they can't easily attack the book, so they go after the person. I thought by speaking out, things would get better, but the numbers are showing things are getting worse. Lots more books are getting banned, lots more librarians are being called pornographers, pedophiles, and more. Many librarians are facing defamation and more. I am happy that librarians are starting to fight back. I am so proud of my friend Amanda Jones and her unwillingness to back down. We need to continue to fight these bans because it's not about the books. LGBTQ+ and students of color are already the most marginalized in our schools. Taking these books away from them only reinforces the idea that they don't belong. Everybody deserves to feel like they belong. And for many students, the library is the only space in the school where that can occur.